What's going on, guys? Thanks for coming back. Welcome to my segment, Countdown to Endgame, where I'll be looking back on the past 21 MCU movies leading up to Avengers Endgame coming out later this month. I just did Iron Man last night, and I'm going in order of its release date. So the next movie on the list is The Incredible Hulk, released the same year. I think this movie's a bit underrated. I like it. I think it's one of the better movies in Phase 1, and it's unfortunate because this is Hulk's only standalone movie. And with that, some people tend to forget about this one when they're thinking about MCU as a whole. And this was during a time when Universal kind of owned Hulk, and they partnered with Marvel to make this movie and to make that connection with Iron Man at the time. 2 years later, Disney bought Marvel, so that changed a lot of things. And on top of that, during this movie, Edward Norton was the actor portraying Bruce Banner, and due to some conflicts regarding him with helping write the screenplay for The Incredible Hulk, he didn't get the credit that he deserved for it, so he declined the role. And of course, we now have Mark Ruffalo portraying Bruce Banner, he's a great Bruce Banner, but I would have been curious to see how Edward Norton would have carried this role in the future. But Mark Ruffalo's a great fit, and that kind of leads me to my fun fact for this movie, is that Mark Ruffalo was originally offered the role of Bruce Banner during the production of The Incredible Hulk by its director, but he declined due to some conflicts with some other movie he was working on. But it worked out in the end. Fate's a funny thing, so I applaud Mark Ruffalo for getting the role back again, and it's working out for him. But like I said, this movie stands out really well, and Edward Norton does a good job portraying Bruce Banner. Now, this isn't an origin story, and it doesn't need to be. Most of us know how Hulk got his powers, how he became the Hulk, and it's prevalent in most previous films like Hulk from 2003 and the TV show. So just like with Spider-Man, we don't need to be told once again where he got his powers, and the MCU does a good job with not having to do that with characters we're already familiar with. It opens up in the credits with everything applying how he got his powers, and the rest of the movie talking about his inner struggle between being Bruce Banner and the Hulk and how he deals with that, meeting up with Betty Ross again, and just the conflict that he has to go through the rest of the movie and fighting that inner demon inside of him, and eventually coming into contact with Abomination, and they have this big epic fight in Harlem. And eventually this movie does connect to the MCU, with the last scene having Tony Stark meeting up with General Thunderbolt Ross and telling them about this new Avenger team. But otherwise, this movie is very cerebral, and that's what I like about it. I think Edward Norton did a great job writing some of this screenplay. It's a good, well-rounded cast, good chemistry. It's an unfortunate thing we don't see most of these actors in future MCU movies, except for William Hurt playing General Ross. We've seen him in Civil War primarily. And of course, Edward Norton was played by Mark Ruffalo, so his character Hulk is still around. And then there's Liv Tyler playing Betty Ross, a character I wish we would see more of. We haven't seen her at all since this movie. So it'd be nice maybe if she shows up in Endgame, especially if it's played by Liv Tyler again, to have that little bit of connection to Incredible Hulk. So if that happens, at least cast-wise, that's how I think this movie may connect to Endgame, if they can have some of these characters come back. As for the villain, which is played by Tim Roth, Abomination, I don't think we would see him again. It's possible, because we saw Red Skull again from Captain America. We'll just have to see, but it would be exciting just to have a little bit of connection for this movie. And speaking of connections to the MCU, this movie does have quite a bit of them. There is one scene with General Ross when he's talking about in World War II there was a super soldier program, obviously referencing Captain America. And then you have the final scene when Tony Stark is coming into a bar talking to General Ross about the Avengers Initiative.
What if I told you we were putting a team together? Who's we?
As for how I think this movie connects to Endgame, it's kind of hard to say because it is one of the first movies to come out in the MCU, but if I had any type of theory, it would be related to Bruce Banner's inner conflict with Hulk. Ever since the first Incredible Hulk movie, we've been seeing him fight this inner demon, and he would usually lose the fight and loses his temper and becomes that Hulk and cannot control it. Or Infinity War, it would be the complete opposite, where he wants the Hulk to come out, but he won't. So I'm thinking if there's a time travel theory, if that is true, and they all go back in time to certain points in their lives, maybe he possibly stops the gamma radiation from happening, and possibly he doesn't become Hulk. Maybe he sacrifices his own life, just like how I mentioned with Iron Man. But I have a feeling we're going to be seeing less of Hulk in future MCU movies, and if this Endgame theory of time travel is true, that's going to be the reason why. But I have to say, I hope someday we do get a sequel to Hulk, because this is a character that definitely deserves it. He has a good story, and Mark Ruffalo, I think, could pull it off in a standalone. And that was Incredible Hulk, movie number 2 out of 21. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. My next one will be Iron Man 2. I'm hoping to have that up by tomorrow night. In the meantime, leave a comment below. Tell me what you think of Incredible Hulk. Do you think Hulk should get a sequel? And how do you think this movie connects to the Endgame? Don't forget to like and subscribe. I love to hear your guys' opinions. You all have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. I will see you all at the movies.